Pesach. So I thought I will go through some more halachot using the fantastic notes of Rabbi Yonatan Nakson. We've been doing this also for Hanukkah. We did this for Sukkot and the Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Aseret Me'ei Teshuvah. So very much we're going to continue on this, let's just say, theme of using his excellent notes within our single. We're going to start with in regards to B'dikat Chametz. We'll see, this might be divided into a few sessions, but let's start tonight. Here we are recording this respectively. So, reason for B'dikat Chametz, the first thing in of itself, this number one on his notes, using the Orthodox Union connected notes. 1. Even someone who is certain that his house has been thoroughly cleaned for Pesach is nonetheless obligated to perform B'dikat Chametz on the night of the 14th of Nisan, the day before Passover. Number 2, before performing B'dikat Chametz, obviously customary already, he should have his home thoroughly cleaned from all chametz. Now he puts different notes where this side notes where he's sourcing it from all throughout. So I recommend everyone to check out this article. For example, Shulchan Aruch 433, number 11, is very much used. We are looking at about over here. Okay, so let's explore a bit more within regards to the halachot of Pesach. Okay. Now he's talking about the time of B'dikat Chametz. So what time do we do it? On the night of the 14th of Nisan, there's a mitzvah to perform B'dikat Chametz. Although Bitul Chametz, nullifying one's Chametz, is performed before Passover as well, there is a rabbinical obligation to perform B'dikat Chametz, a full inspection of one's property to make sure that no Chametz is there, respectively. So that is source number 4 would be the Mishnah Berurah in 431. Respectively. Okay, so we talked about B'dikat Chametz. B'dikat Chametz should be performed immediately after the time of Tzet HaKochavim on the night of the 14th of Nisan. Approximately it will be 20 minutes after Shkia, respectively, after one has already prayed Arvit. So ideally do the evening prayers beforehand. Number 5, one does not have to wait to the Zman of Rabbeinu Tam to perform B'dikat Chametz. Like some people might be makpid on throughout the year about Rabbeinu Tam in regards to Arvit. One does not have to wait till this time. Number 6, if one performed the B'dika after Shkia, but before Tzet HaKochavim, he has fulfilled his obligation. If possible, one should then continue the B'dika until the time of Tzet HaKochavim. So this last one will give you a source for over here. I believe it's come from the Chazon Ovadia in Pesach, page number 33, if I'm not mistaken. Prohibited activities before and during B'dikat Chametz. Okay, this is interesting. Within a half hour before Tzet HaKochavim, one may not begin an activity that may, let's say, distract oneself from performing the B'dika at the proper time. So if he, let's say, hypothetically began such an activity prior to 30 minutes before Tzet HaKochavim, it's preferable that he stop what he's doing, though he is not required to, though. However, if one began such an activity within 30 minutes before Tzet HaKochavim, he must stop what he is doing to perform the B'dika, this checking, respectively. Now, the source for this is number 10, the Magen Avraham, respectively, I think in 431, number 8. Okay, friends, we are, if anyone's tuning in over here, subscribe to the channel, and we're looking over some of the laws within regards to Passover for the Sephardic families, respectively. Okay, number 8, although partaking in a light snack, such as fruit and drink, even after Tzet HaKochavim, that time threshold, is permitted before the B'dika, one should try and minimize the eating he does, since the B'dika, the checking, should begin as soon as possible after Tzet HaKochavim. So this could seemingly be, let's say, a distraction. One may not eat more than 50 grams of bread or mazonot, not including rice over here, from 30 minutes before performing the B'dika. So if you're going to perform the B'dika, don't get into a big meal, just something very, very light over here. Now the source for that number is number 12. That's Shulchan Aruch 431, number 2, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, a gabbai, let's say a shamash of the synagogue, a warden, may eat before performing the B'dika in the synagogue if he has already performed the B'dika in his house. So you could do a B'dika in the house, maybe the person in charge, and then want to do it inside the synagogue premises, respectively. Number 11, women and children who are not involved in the B'dika may eat before it is performed. So there's seemingly more leniencies within regards to that. Yaakov Yosef, once again, will bring this down, I think, on page 293, respectively, over there. Number 12, one may not begin to learn Torah once the time for B'dikat Chametz begins, even if he regularly learns at that time. However, if one was learning before the time for the B'dika commenced, he does not have to stop learning to perform the B'dika. Okay, that's another interesting thing. Number 13, if one is unable to perform the B'dika at its proper time, for example, let's say he's driving home or another distraction, he may learn Torah, such as by listening to shiur or reviewing Torah by heart, even though it is time to perform the B'dika. So he's on a long journey, he's coming home, he can have his MP3 player on, for example, and listen to Shiurei Torah. Okay, number 14. If one gives a Torah class, a public, during the time of performing B'dikat Chametz, so you could argue if I was doing this at that point in time, or the B'dikat Chametz, and it's concerned that if all the participants were to go home to perform B'dika, they will not return for the class, he may give the class at that regular time. However, one should announce to the participants at its conclusion that they should perform the B'dika immediately when they arrive home. This halacha is only applicable if one is giving an in-depth study class over here. So if one is doing like a regular, let's say, a Daf Yomi class or Gemara class, usually at that time and is worried they're not going to come back, do the class, but you've got to remind them very illustratively that they've got to, when they come back home, they should straight away perform this B'dika. Okay, number 15. If one is too exhausted to perform the B'dika, exhausted, might work throughout the previous night, at its proper time, and will not be able to focus if he does not rest beforehand, he may take a short nap then. So seemingly that is going to be allowed, maybe a power nap over here. However, before doing so, he must ask someone to wake him up and remind him to perform the B'dika, so he can't go to sleep for the whole night. One may only rely on this if he came home at the beginning of the evening, but once it's already late enough that one would normally go to sleep at such an hour, he may not take this nap before performing the B'dika. So it's only like a partial leniency over here. Now, I think this actually comes down from the Chazon Ovadia in Pesach, page number 42. That does over there. Okay, let's try and go through a bit more. The bracha of B'dikat Chametz. What's the blessing for this? A bracha. Okay, let's just okay. Okay, there was just one more on this section. Number 16. Prior to 30 minutes before Tzet Kochavim, one may engage in an activity, even if one might continue with this activity once Tzet Kochavim sets in. However, one should preferably stop and perform the B'dika on time. So that's an interesting one. The bracha of B'dika, for B'dikat Chametz. Number 17. Some people have the custom to wash their hands before performing the B'dika. Naturally, there might be Chametz on it, so on and so forth. Now, number 18, the bracha of al biur chametz is recited before performing the b'dika. Number 19, the bracha of shechianu is not recited on b'dikat chametz. It's praiseworthy, though, for one to take a new fruit and recite a shechianu on it, either before one recites a bracha on the b'dika, once one has already started the b'dika, or after the B'dika is completed. The Shechianu, however, should not be made immediately after one has recited bracha on the B'dika. That's interesting. Okay, number 20. A person who forgot to recite the bracha on B'dikat Chametz may recite it at any time, as long as he did not conclude the B'dika. The last one over here in this section. 21. It is unnecessary to recite a separate bracha on each building that the person will be inspecting. Just one bracha is sufficient. So that's also very, very interesting. Okay, we're going to try and do this in a couple of sessions, so let's continue a bit more. Interrupting during B'dikat Chametz. Can you? One may not speak between the bracha and the actual performance of the B'dika. The bracha must only be repeated. However, if one spoke about something unrelated to the B'dika. Okay, so that's interesting. Number 23. Once one is in the middle of performing the B'dika, he should not speak about any unrelated topic. Only matters pertaining to, let's say, disposing of and finding chametz may be discussed. However, if one did accidentally speak about an unrelated matter, let's say, during the B'dika, he does not have to recite another blessing, another bracha. 24. One who hears Kaddish or Kedusha during the B'dika, such as, let's say, when one is performing the B'dika in a synagogue, may answer accordingly. Similarly, one may recite the bracha on thunder and lightning, or even the bracha of Asher Yatzar while performing the B'dika. Maybe he might need a bathroom, so on and so forth. Now, women and children performing the B'dika. Number 25. B'dikat Chametz may be performed by a woman or a child who has reached the age of chinuch. However, it should preferably be performed by an adult male, ideally adult male, but there is leniency here. Number 26. A woman who lives alone or shares an apartment with other women is then obligated to perform b'dikat chametz in her home. Let's talk about b'dika through a proxy. Is that going to be allowed? Okay. Number 27. One may designate a shaliach, let's say a messenger, to perform b'dikat chametz on one's behalf. That's interesting. Now, the source for that is the Shulchan Aruch 432, number 2. I think Mishnah Berurah brings this down also, which is interesting. Okay. One may ask his sons or friends to help him perform the b'dika, the checking. Those who are participating should listen to the head of the household's bracha and not recite their own individual brachot. Number 29. If the entire b'dika is being performed through a shaliach, a messenger, the bracha should be recited by the shaliach. Now, number 30. We're talking about an onen who is forbidden to perform any mitzvot. Asay should appoint a shaliach to perform the b'dika on his behalf. Preferably, the shaliach should either check his own house first and have in mind the onen's house while making his bracha, or hear the bracha from someone else who is performing a b'dika nearby. Before inspecting the onens, the shaliach himself may not recite the bracha on this b'dika. If an onen, let's say, cannot find the shaliach, then he must perform the b'dika himself, but his son or wife should recite the bracha on his behalf. Okay. Now the source for this is Chazon Ovadia talking about Avelut. I think the first volume in page 181. I think Yaakov Yosef will bring this down also. Okay, very interesting. Okay, now we can do. Now we're talking about the custom of hiding the 10 pieces over here. Let's try and go through this section. Okay. It is customary to place 10 pieces of bread throughout the house before b'dikat chametz. There are various reasons given for, let's say, this minhag, this custom. 1, since the house was clean before the b'dika, the bracha may be considered bracha levatala if one were to search without finding any bread. If one performs the b'dika without finding chametz, one might forget to nullify one's chametz, since there will not be any chametz to burn. Number 3, if one is unaware that chametz was placed throughout the house, he will try to perform a more meticulous b'dika. And I think there's also Kabbalistic reasons, which is another cited reason. I think the Eitz Chaim, Sha'ar 25 will bring that also. Okay, that's interesting. Now, the pieces should not be larger than a kazayit, preferably not even larger than 18 grams, so that if a person, let's say, fails to find one of the pieces, there will not be a kazayit of chametz remaining in the house, and this way the bitul chametz will nullify that piece anyway. However, when all 10 pieces are combined, they should equal then a kazayit. That's it. One should wrap the 10 pieces to ensure that no crumbs are left after the chametz is removed. Now, when placing the pieces around the house, one should place them in rooms in which one must perform a b'dika, and not in places where one never brings chametz. Okay, number 36. Someone who, let's say, is alone without anyone else to hide the 10 pieces of bread should distribute the pieces himself. Number 37. One does not need to distribute the 10 pieces if he is checking his home before the night of the 14th of Pesach. However, it's praiseworthy to do this. Now, let's just check some sources in regards to the last one we just did. Mishnah, I think the Minchat Yitzchak in 8, number 35, will bring this down. Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashiv in the Kotzitz Shuvat 3, number 79. Okay. Even one who does not have 10 pieces of bread to hide may recite the bracha for b'dikat chametz. Some people have the custom to bring along a utensil in which to put the chametz while performing the b'dika. Some even have the custom to put salt in his utensil and carry around a knife. Kabbalistic reasons. This is over here. Now the source for that is, I believe, the Ben Ishai in Tzav in Parashat Tzav. Okay. Now, one who did not find all 10 pieces of bread may rely on the bitul chametz that it will perform after the b'dika, and he does not have to search the entire house again until he finds them. Now, even though the house may have already, let's just say, been thoroughly cleaned, the b'dika should not be performed in a hasty manner, as is the sole purpose is only to find the 10 pieces of bread. Rather, one's main goal should be to check the house scrupulously and carefully to certain that there is no chametz in one's home. So please, I hope this was informative. We're going to continue tomorrow, the next section on this. So wishing you all day, good day, and take care.